The following is a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about them Cowboys?
Yeah! Go Cowboys!
This is Cowboys StoryLine with Nick Eatman.
What's up? Welcome to Cowboys Storyline. Good morning, everyone. I'm Nick Eatman. It is an off-season edition here. This is going to be our regular time, Wednesday, January the 8th, but Wednesdays at 9:30-ish Central Time. It'll be 9:30 most of the time. And we can go for a full hour, maybe a little bit longer than that. Don't get in anyone's way. Give Chris a chance to have some breaks a little bit in between shows. And kind of use, this is what happens when you get to the off season. You can kind of stretch out a little bit, stretch out your legs, stretch out your arms, stretch out the shows a little bit. That's what we're doing. All right, I wouldn't say a lot of news, but still, it's off season news. And still figuring out what's going on with the head coaching situation. Reports are saying that the Cowboys are not letting Mike McCarthy interview right now with the Bears. I think a lot of people are assuming that means he is definitely coming back. Why would you do that, right? Why would you say, no, you can't interview here and then not bring him back? And that kind of is what it looks like as well. But let's not forget that there's going to be a negotiation here, and that's what they're doing. They're negotiating with Jerry's negotiating with Mike McCarthy, if that's what's being done. And so just think of it that way. If that is the case and he is negotiating, try to get a new contract and figure out all that's in place, why would you let him go talk to the Bears when you don't have to? Why would you mess up? You're not negotiating with anyone else right now, just him. Nobody is allowed to do that. And so that could be part of it too. Like, hey, we're trying to get this thing done, and we need to get this done the right way, and here's the parameters and all that. And if you don't like it, you don't like it. But you don't need him to go talking to other teams and then come back and say, well, this is the price now and all that when you don't have to negotiate with anyone. So I do think it's a sign he could come back, but it also doesn't mean it's 100% that's what it means. That's at least my interpretation of it. All right, let's go to the phones. Let's start us off. Irene in Falls Church, Virginia. Irene, what's up?
Okay, ready to go. So I have no idea what Jerry's doing with blocking the Bears and other potential suitors, if he actually wants Mike back or if he's trying to drive the price down artificially by shutting down the market. I don't know. But what I do know is next Tuesday or Wednesday, we're going to have an impromptu presser, and we're going to pretend all the awkwardness from last season to now never happened and that Mike has always been Jerry's guy. That's my prediction, I guess. I don't really know it, but I feel it.
Okay.
My question for the storyliners, I want to know, now that we're not a factor, who do people want to win the Super Bowl? And I know the answer to my other question, who do you least want to win it? I know most people say Eagles on that one. Me, it's definitely Washington, for sure. For winner,
they're not winning.
I guess.
I can promise you that. Not. I promise you that. You look horrible at their season. They're the most fortunate football team in the world, and I'll say this: they are not better than the Cowboys. I mean, that we've seen it twice, and it's very clear they are not a better football team than the Cowboys. So,
100%.
Look what, and give them credit. It's just one of those years. This is the 2016 Cowboys wrapped up into one. This is it. Young rookie quarterback, just a new team, and it's all working for you. You're getting Hail Marys, you're getting the Eagles to drop passes, you're getting last-second touchdowns, you're getting all this kind of stuff. It'll fall flat when it's supposed to, because I just don't think they're that good of a team. So I don't know about the rest of the league. I know they're not winning the Super Bowl.
Yeah, same. I would love to see the battle of the 0-4s, Minnesota and the Bills, and go, I guess, Minnesota in that, but they're not going to do it either. I saw what happened the other day. Anyway, So let me tell you one thing from last night that had Davion rolling. So the fans here, I know what you just said. I believe you're right, but the fans here are on some special sauce for sure. I sent my best friend a link to a theater troupe that does something called Drunk Shakespeare, and she answered me, and she's like, well, with football on during the weekend, it's going to be hard to go. Hopefully it comes back in the spring. And I'm like, this thing goes on forever. You did not need to, point it out that you're still in the playoffs and we're not, and that I can be in off-season mode. Anyway, that's it. I'll talk to you. I'm
all right.
interested to hear what people say.
All right, sounds good. Who do you want to win the Super Bowl? Who do you definitely not want to win? I mean, at this point, it's like I never really have a problem with the Chiefs winning it if they do, And this could be the year somebody that hasn't won. Yeah, like she said. I mean, Buffalo, Detroit, maybe Minnesota. Trying to think who else is. I guess Chargers and not winning. I don't want them to go either. All right, let's go to Dylan in Northport, Florida.
Hey, Nick. Nice sweater, dude. I like that sweater a lot. I got to get me one of those.
Thank you. I don't know if you're trolling me. If you are, that's fine. It just feels
no, legit. I know I'm snarky sometimes, but I do like that sweater. I was thinking, I got to get me one of those.
I appreciate it. I wasn't sure about this choice today, but if it is warm here, and it's not warm outside, but that's it for weather. All right, Dylan, what's up?
Shout out to Rob and Sydney, called from the future yesterday. That was a good call. Good dude. He's in our StoryLiners group, so he's a good guy.
Yeah, from Australia. Yeah, from the future. My bad. It's taking me a while. I was about to ask you, when's the last time in Florida? When's the last time anybody wore a sweater?
It's cold, man. It's like 40 degrees today. It's freezing.
It's not, but whatever. All right, Dylan, let's go.
All right. This team, man, it's a rudderless ship to me right now. I feel like we're kind of stuck in the ocean and. A rudderless ship.
Okay.
We're stuck out in the ocean. We don't know where we're going, right? So they extend Dak Prescott last year, but they leave Mike McCarthy on a one-year prove-it deal, right? So by extending Dak, they're saying that the team, the staff, everybody's good enough to go and win. That's what it says to me, which I didn't disagree with. But then they tell Mike, go out and prove it and do that. And so if he doesn't prove himself, that tells me, well, you're going to move on from him. And now you're wasting 1 to 2 years from Dak's extension. So now fast forward, on the flip side, there's a good chance Mike comes back, but what did he prove to come back? He didn't prove himself to me. But there's a lot of injuries.
But who said prove it? Like you guys are saying that, but Jerry didn't say this is. He's never said that. This is a prove it deal. That's what you're thinking that it means by not having a contract for next season. But Jerry never said this was a prove it and prove what? What did he prove? What did he not prove? So I don't know. I think sometimes we get caught up in what things mean, and so we just kind of go with it. But I don't think Jerry ever said that he's got to go to this round of the playoffs or he doesn't come back. I don't think
it's a prove it in terms of getting to a certain place in the playoffs and getting past the divisional round and all that. I think it's just prove that by not offering him an extension, or maybe he did offer him an extension, he didn't take it. Who knows, like you said. But by not extending him, that tells me you've got to prove yourself this year that you deserve an extension. And maybe I'm wrong, like you're saying, but the assumption to me is that that's what that means. If you're not giving your coach a contract, then you got to prove it.
He might have proved a lot more than you think, though. Like, honestly. See, because we, again, and no offense. Go ahead.
He had the team playing, right? Okay, so credit to him. But there was at least three losses where the players and the coach came out and said they weren't prepared. All right, that's a major strike to me.
Yeah.
The play calling again was a concern. Clock management was a concern. Maybe he won't be the play caller this next time around. So okay, that's great. And I get both arguments in keeping Mike, but at this point, I'm like, what did he do to prove himself if this was a prove it deal? And the whole point is it just feels like we're shooting from the hip here, is what it feels like to me. I don't see the vision for the team. Maybe I'm just dumb or blind. I know they're not going to tell us what the vision is flat out, but I don't see it. I don't understand where this team is heading at the moment.
Okay, and that's the thing. And Jerry, appreciate the call, Dylan, always. And I think Jerry is totally fine with that. He's fine with media, fans, maybe the players, maybe the coaches. What are we doing? When you're the decision maker, you can do that. As long as he's got his plan or in place or whatever. My point was that, and I'm with you. Guys, I've been 50-50 on this whole thing. Like, if he comes back, that's fine. And a lot of that is selfish. I've admitted on here it's a lot easier off season when you're kind of status quo. Now, there will be a lot of coaches, there'll be a lot of changes, there'll be some free agent changes and all that. But you're not worried. You're not wondering about how this is done and that is done and just new concepts and things like that. And you got to remember, a coaching change is not just we're bringing this guy in. you gotta have a lot of interviews and at least a handful of them, and so it's a process. It takes longer. So that's easier when it's not the case. But if they do make a change, I'll understand the reasons why as well. So, and I'll understand the reasons why that he stays. What I'm trying to point out is that let's not get caught up in talk radio that you hear, the people on the Twitter Spaces and all the all the rhetoric that we hear. Sometimes we get caught up and believe that that's the case when Jerry has never said that. He never said what Mike has to do to come back. He never said what a one-year deal means for him. And so, and you got to remember, he evaluates the team a lot differently than what we see. We see it's got to be this, it's got to be that, or you would have signed him. And Jerry, you're getting dangerous when you get into the mind of Jerry and trying to figure out what he's actually thinking and reading between the lines. That's been something that the guys that have covered this team for 30 to 40 years still can't master. That's Jerry being Jerry. All right, let's go to Irwin in Denver.
Hey, Nick, how's it going?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing great. Hey, just a couple of things, and I wanted to get your opinion on it. As far as McCarthy goes, I'm kind of neutral, and I don't really care either way what Jerry decides to do on him. But I do want to say a couple of things that I think that's kind of going against him, and I want to get your thoughts on it. Is one, I don't really think he's a great play caller like he might think he is. One, two, the other thing with McCarthy is they have a real issue with penalties, and I think that's a coachable thing. And the other thing, one more thing about this is I hear a lot of people talking about that McCarthy's a really great coach and he's taken a team to a Super Bowl and they won. That's true, they did.
Yep.
But let's not forget that he also had a Hall of Fame quarterback in Aaron Rodgers, and I don't think we have that on our team, at least not yet, and I don't know if that'll ever happen. And I just want to get your thoughts on those things.
I'll say this, and I don't like to kind of make some of those comments with you off the air. I'll just say it back to you. I hate that argument about Aaron Rodgers because Aaron Rodgers has never won without him. So, and I'm not saying it's Mike, but I'm saying this: if he is like Luke Skywalker, like people like to think that he is, why hasn't he won with anyone else? And so I do think it was, whatever the reason, that they figured out that team that year. They came to this stadium, they won. They had like 20 guys on injured reserve. They figured it out. And yes, I'm sure Aaron Rodgers was a big part of that. Same with like Drew Brees and Sean Payton. Was Sean Payton the winner? I mean, the reason for that, or was it Drew Brees? But he's never won without him. So, you know what I'm saying? Like I don't love that argument because Aaron Rodgers has never hoisted another trophy.
No, you're absolutely correct about that. But they also had a really good defense too.
Yeah, they did.
So,
Woodson, Charles Woodson, and all that. You're right.
Yeah,
that was definitely a better team, but the experience part of it is being there, being in the moment. How do you practice for the NFC Championship game? How do you practice for the Super Bowl? Do you take your team early? Just all those things you got to do. That's part of the experience, and you would love for him to get there. Now, you can make the argument, then why can't you win in the playoffs here? And that is a valid argument. They have not won here. They have not figured out a way to win past the division round. And that's what he was brought in to be a guy with experience to do. Again, I can argue both sides, and I can do that because that's how close this is for me. I see both angles of this, and I'll let you guys kind of rant and say what you think because I can definitely see both sides.
Right. What do you think about his play calling and the penalties that just seemed to,
all right.
All
right, Erwin.
Yeah.
Thanks for the call. Appreciate that.
Thanks for taking my call,
Good
Nick.
stuff. I don't love the play calling. I don't. Then again, I've never called a play, with real people. My little computerized guys that I call those plays, but sometimes. But no, I don't see the game the same way that he sees it. So there's a lot of times where I don't agree with it. I'm probably a lot more conservative honestly, as a play caller, than I think he is. There's been times where he's thrown the ball on third down, fourth down with the lead late in the game where I like the 40 seconds, coming off the clock more than I like getting it here and trying to pass the ball and all that stuff. So there's been too many times like this year where I didn't really love it. And in this last game, it was so off for me that I even questioned whether or not they were trying to score points or really evaluate Trey Lance, because you just don't call those plays down there like that. You just don't throw fade routes to Brandon Cooks when everyone, including Deuce Vaughn, is gashing them up the middle. I don't know if they could stop him. I don't know if they could stop Rico. And then if not, fake it and roll him out, because that's what Trey Lance can do. He can roll out. I'm not sure if he wouldn't have, when he did the rollout and he short hopped it to Rico, I'm not sure he couldn't have pumped that and ran it in. He's so long and lanky that there's ways to do that. So I don't know. You've had him for 2 seasons now. You see what he can do on the scout team. You know what he can run and all that. I didn't love it. So I don't necessarily love all the play calling. The penalties. It's that's part of preparation as well. I'll say this to somewhat defend the team when you do have a ton of injuries, and people don't like to say that it's excuse, but it's the facts. I mean, when you have a lot of injuries, that means you have a lot of different players playing. You have players playing not as practicing as much as you should. That's where you're going to get a lot of confusion, and that's where I think you're going to get a lot of penalties, especially the procedural ones, the lining up wrong, 12 men on the field, things like that. Some of those are a product of the injuries as well, and let's not act like they haven't continued to cut down practice time over and over again. But then again, that's another side. I don't think the Cowboys practice as much as they probably could and should, and sometimes it shows. All right, let's go to Jeremy, D.C.
Hey, yo, Nick. What's up, man?
How are you doing?
I'm doing all right, man. I ain't spoke to you all year, man. How you been?
I'm good. Good. All year.
Man.
Yeah.
Happy New Year, man.
You too.
You been staying out of trouble, right?
I got you. Oh, yeah. We'll see. Day's not over yet.
All right, man. So just to piggyback a little bit off of what you were saying, already how I felt about Mike McCarthy. I feel like he's going to be here because I feel like Jerry would not want to, have a complete change of the offense, being as though he just re-signed Dak, and that would really handicap the offense if he bring in a complete overhaul. And then I also, the question that I forgot the other day was basically that question that Randy asked yesterday about Myles Garrett, and that's crazy. And then I wanted to ask you, with the first round pick, who would you want to pick? Myself personally, I feel like we should get either a wide receiver to help CeeDee Lamb or offensive lineman, because we need help there.
Yeah.
And my number for today is 52 for Dexter Coakley.
Oh, yeah.
And then what do you think about, because I saw that Mike Zimmer interview, and it does seem like either the defensive coordinator thing is a little too much for him, or he don't want to come back. So how do you feel if they made Al Hurst the DC and Mike Zimmer his assistant?
Huh.
And that's all I got for you, Nick.
Yeah. Mike Zimmer, the assistant to Al Harris. It will snow in Oxnard.
It's already snowing in D.C.
It will snow in Oxnard at training camp before that happens. Sorry. I tried to tell y'all last week, and I read between the lines. That ain't happening, all right? That ain't happening.
I'm trying to think out the box for you.
No. That is outside of the universe right there. That's not outside of the box. Not happening at all. And I don't see those two coming back. I don't know if Zimmer's coming back, and I'll be surprised if Zimmer and Al Harris are both on the coaching staff. I'll be really surprised if that's the case. All right, Jeremy. Thanks for the call. got a lot there. Coakley is the 52. I can't even think of like Jim Schwantz or something like that. Maybe made the Pro Bowl as a linebacker, a special teams linebacker. But no, Coakley's one of my favorite players of all time, and I love the fact that Bill Parcells, when he got here, he knew a lot of things. Like he did. I mean, he's a genius, and he's a football genius. He's an offensive guy. He's a defensive guy. He knew everything. He knows how to coach punt returners and all that. And he had his mind made up about Dat Nguyen and Dexter Coakley. That they can't play football. Not at linebacker. They're not good enough. They're not big enough for sure. And Zimmer was like, man, why don't you watch these two? Let's see. I mean, you might be surprised because they can play. And he loved them. He loved both those two. And so I applaud him for saying, all right, I'm old school. Show me I'm wrong. And they did. And those two guys showed him that he was wrong, and he admitted that. So that's my two favorite stories about those two guys, is just that even a player, a Hall of Fame coach like Bill Parcells, he got him to kind of change his opinion about him. Who would I want to take in the first round? Again, way early. There's other shows for that. They're dissecting that. But I think running back, guard or tackle, depends on what you're doing there. You're the best lineman available, guard or tackle. I could handle either one right now, or pass rusher. I mean, if you got one of those, there's some guys from the SEC coming out, Georgia, Tennessee, I believe. If they're like legit pass rushers that can scream off the edge a little bit, I'd be fine with that. So, but running back, like I said yesterday, I think you need to get one early, especially a special one like that. And I watched Genty play. I didn't see a lot of him, but there was a run against Penn State, a 10-yard run, and I was like, when he gets drafted by whoever it is, I hope that's the run that they show when they show the highlights and stuff like that of him. I don't need to see a 77-yard run against Colorado State or something like that. Like, that's great. Certainly need some home run hitters. That's awesome. But there was a 10-yard run where he probably broke 6 tackles against Penn State. That's the kind of running that you have to do in the playoffs against, in December when you're going to Philly, you're going to Washington. You got to get runs like that. And so I thought that was really impressive. Penn State might be a NFL type of defense for sure. All right, Ali in Florida's been holding a little bit. Ali, what's up, man?
Good morning, Mr. Aidman.
Good morning.
How are you, sir?
Great. Thank you.
First, I want to start with pray for the people in Los Angeles. They have a really bad fire.
Yeah.
So, having said that, I got an idea. Then I'm going to have a question about a couple of the players that I love. First, I think everybody loves Darren Woodson. He's going for Hall of Fame. If you get a chance to talk to him to see if he has a favorite animal, I'll provide the picture and storyliners. They can sign the card for when he goes to Hall of Fame. Either he goes or not, at least we have something nice, positive for him on the site.
His favorite animal?
Yeah. Any favorite animal, I'll send you a picture, you give it to him. On behalf of all the storyliners,
Okay.
So then this is, okay, I was photographing the Outback Bowl. They have a new name for them, Alabama versus Michigan. And there is a guard there. My God, I love to have him. His name is Tyler Booker, number 52. He mauls, I tell you. He's just like one of those best guards to protect Dax right next to the center. I think it would be a great, I don't know, he's projected to be number 1 the draft picks by late. I was thinking maybe if the Genty is not available on the 12, we trade down a couple picks and then pick him up for a second-round pick. As far as, we from 12, we go to 15, we pick up a second round. And my favorite player is Cam Scatterboo. That kid, he's a great runner. I know he's going to be a third round, but everybody jumped it ahead of us. I know he's going to go probably late second. That I want to get your opinion on both of them if you know them.
I don't know Booker. I'm not familiar with him. I've seen Scatterboo just a few times. Obviously, that last game. I'm not sure what kind of pro he's going to be. He's dynamic. At Arizona State, and he took that game over. He can, almost 299 yards. Is that what it was of passing? He passed for 45 and a touchdown, and he had like 100 in receiving, and then of course like 140 running. He was gassed after that game, but I mean, why not? I mean, he's playing. That's the best defense he's faced all year, and he carried that team on his back. So he's impressive. He'll go to a team that they'll figure out the role for him, and that's what it is. I mean, you see the scat back type guys, and then there's guys like him. He'll have to play some special teams, but I think he'll be a good solid player. I don't see him being like a featured back, but I see him being somebody that they can kind of have a role because he can do a lot of things. And you can laugh at this if you want. I just don't know if you're not getting that type of production from Hunter Lipke. I mean, it's easy to compare a college guy to a pro guy and go, well, this guy does a lot more. But on the next level, would he? I don't really know that. So I think you kind of have a version of Cam Scatterboo with Hunter Lipke. So without the draft pick of having to send it out there. All right. I'll ask Darren what's in that question. What his favorite animal? He's probably just gonna think. I just sent him a message. He probably thinks that's like spam. It's like, what's your favorite animal? Anyway, all right. Let's go to Ronnie in New Jersey.
Hey, Nick.
What's up, man?
Nick, real quick, if I could piggyback from one of the callers from yesterday,
Sure.
When he called you, he told you that he listens to all the shows, and most of us do, and he says he appreciates your show and every other show. And Nick, I agree 100%. I listen to as many shows as I can because some of them are very fun, very very funny, informative, but funny at the same time. And I don't know. I'm a fan, so I love the shows. I love the interaction between the guys. I love seeing you sometimes when you go to one of the shows where hanging with the boys or anything like that. Because it's like we see a different side of you sometimes. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to piggyback off of that and say that I love all the shows and that he's 100% right. You guys are why we watch and why we listen, and especially guys like you, because you seem to be, and you are, from what we see, a straight shooter, and that's one of the things we appreciate from you and the other guys. And I love Chris.
You should watch me in Fortnite, and you wouldn't say I'm not a straight shooter. Ronnie, I appreciate that. I'm going to flip it back to you like I do on a lot of times. You guys ask questions, and I said, well, what do you think? You say that we're the reason why you guys are able to be informed or whatever. Well, you guys are the reason we're able to have a platform. If we didn't have listeners, they wouldn't keep doing podcasts. We wouldn't keep doing it like we do. So, and we know that. That's the same with anything. You don't have customers, you don't open the store. And so,
but your honesty is what brings us to you.
Well,
guys.
I appreciate it.
You know what I'm saying?
Thank you.
And I also appreciate Jerry Jones for letting you guys do what you guys do, because I used to watch some of the shows on TV, on some of the broadcast channels, ESPN, but they're so biased and they're so, whatever. I stopped watching all that stuff a long time ago just because I'd rather get it from you guys because you're, we're better to get it straight from the source. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's why we appreciate you guys, because you guys are honest about it too. So can I ask you real quick before you got to hang up on me.
No. You set that up, and you said you're a straight shooter and you're honest. And now you're going to ask a question, and you're like, I better be honest about it.
So why you just said a little while ago, somebody asked about Al Harris and Mike. I hope that if the coach does come back, the head coach, I hope he's tied up with Dak to his contract, like a 3-year, like if they give him an extension, just give him a 3-year extension. And because honestly, I don't see anything that McCarthy has done that's made this team great. Discipline has been an issue for a long time under McCarthy. Discipline has been an issue. He's not great as a play caller or manager, so I hope he's doing great at something else, because that doesn't seem to be his forte. And if you do bring back Mike McCarthy, you can't have two nice guys. You know what I'm saying? Like, I know that supposedly Mike, our defensive coach, he's not as vocal or tough as he was. So maybe an Al Harris would be great candidate to be a defensive coordinator if Mike does decide to leave or retired or whatever he wants to do. Because you need, you know what I'm saying? You need a yin to the yang.
Yeah.
You can't have two sweet guys being the coaches. And he's one of the few coaches that I've seen, assistant coaches that get something out of their players. All his cornerbacks seem to make plays and get into a groove. He develops his players, is what I'm trying to say. I don't see that much development from the other coaches, not from what we've seen. And if we're going to draft something, God, Jerry Jones has always said, and I don't see why we don't draft that, but let's get big guys in the middle. Like in the defensive line, he always says that the one thing he likes to protect the quarterbacks from is that pressure coming down the middle. So why don't you draft guys down the middle on the defensive line that put that pressure on the quarterbacks? Like, you know what I'm saying? It's like he says one thing, but he does the complete opposite. And if you're going to draft a defensive lineman, this is the perfect time to draft them. Make sure you get a big nose tackle or somebody that could stop the run.
Okay.
And thanks for taking my call,
Ronnie.
Nick. I'll listen to you.
Appreciate it. All right. You got 19 different guys that you want to draft in the first round. I mean, they drafted Mozzie Smith, big, strong defensive tackle, and that hasn't. He hasn't had the impact that you wanted to see out of him from a first round pick. And so, when they've picked in the middle of the first round, they've gotten different guys. They've gotten the Leighton Vander Esch at linebacker. They've gotten a CD Lamb. I'm looking at that 17-18 range. But if you get you take a defensive tackle at this spot, the pick that comes to mind from this area of defensive tackle, I want to say Vita Vea, maybe like 10, 11, something like that with the Bucks. And he changes their defense. So, I mean, then again, like Dontari Poe from Kansas City, who ended up here for like a few hours. I don't think he had that same impact there. He might have early on, but if you get a difference maker like that, like that would be interesting. But the second round, you see those guys in the second round, and then there's a reason why they're in the second round. So big, strong defensive tackles that aren't going in the top 10, top 15, then there's a reason why, and sometimes some they have to prove themselves. They have to say, they have to show that were they lazy? Are they just too out of shape? Can they not play a full game? Are they not quick off the ball here? Or are they not as strong as they need to be? All those kind of things. So just like with any position, but I think that it's one that could be addressed, because it's the same with the offensive line. This is what Lester from Minnesota always says, is that if you can get that offense and defensive line together, those are the positions that help all of them better. All of the guys. Micah will rush better with the defensive tackles there. Dak and the running backs will do better with that offensive line better as well. And I say that, and Lester's actually on the line. But we're going to go. Let's take a quick break real quick on Cowboys Storyline. Take a break. We'll be right back after this.
Discover Aiden, the official luggage partner of the Dallas Cowboys and Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders. Known for top-tier engineering and craftsmanship, Aiden offers more than just bags. Originating from Australia and designed in New York, it merges fashion, design, and culture. Used by Dallas Cowboys players, staff, and the entire organization, Aiden provides style and functionality for all travelers. Visit AidenTheBrand.com and use code AidenXCowboys for 25% off your purchase. Travel like your favorite stars with Aiden.
How do you tell the world about all the great gifts in the Yeti store? Let her rip, Troy.
All right, folks, let's get started with the Yeti French Press. Enjoy coffee that stays hot for hours in a French press. 34 ounce for you, 6'4" for the cruise. The Yeti French Press. Up next, waterproof bags. Bags waterproof. Submersible waterproof doubles. Waterproof bags. World's mostly water, so get a waterproof Yeti bag. Do I smell something cooking? Oh, new cast iron skillets made to be passed down like Mama's recipes. Take a steak, cornbread, cobbler's pot pie, and potatoes next level with 3 sizes of Yeti cast iron skillets.
Gear, gifts, and product experts. Visit the Yeti store on McKinney Street and at South Lake Town Square today.
Altec Lansing has been perfecting sound since 1927, bringing you decades of audio excellence to elevate your Dallas Cowboys tailgate ritual. Equip your next pregame with the Sound Rover 180 with 6 hours of playtime, built-in microphone, multicolor light modes, and a rugged exterior that's built to last. Visit AltecLansing.com/Cowboys15 for 15% off your Sound Rover 180. That's AltecLansing.com/Cowboys15 for 15% off. Altec Lansing, official audio partner of the Dallas Cowboys.
Back to Cowboys Storyline.
All right, back here on Cowboys Storyline. You see the number here, 888-855-2297. That's the thing about the offseason. We're having a different start. We go at 9:30 Central Time. Be able to go a full hour, maybe a little bit longer than that. So that's good, and try to give you guys as much time as you can. I know going from 5 shows to 1 is going to be a big change for all of us and some of the callers as well. So we try to get a little extra time, at least on this show. Let's go to Lonnie in Kansas. Lonnie.
Hey, what's going on?
How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Just freezing my butt off with the snow and stuff we had.
Okay. All right. Well, first-time caller, right?
Yes.
Here we go. All right. Let's hear it. What do you got?
Hey, I just 2 things. One on the draft. Pick the best guy that's going to make the biggest impact that you can get, period. That will help your team. That's what you got to do. You're not picking number 1. You're picking, 12. So pick the best guy that's going to help you. And you got lots of choices, I think. So no big deal there. Just pick the best guy that can come in and play almost right away. That's what you need.
And that's probably going to be a guard. That's going to be like a guard or a tackle, because those are the guys that won't go.
I'm good with that.
And I'm good with that too, because the last time you did that was Zach Martin.
Yep, and I've said it all year. Watched them play, no matter what. Yeah, their injuries, all that created a lot of havoc, and but you got to have a line. You got to have a line on both sides of the ball. That's all there is to it. If you can run the ball, you got to run the ball. You got to stop the run. Period. And but secondly, on McCarthy, I'm okay. Whatever they do, is there somebody better available? Maybe, but it is what it is. And but I think they need to look at some play calling issues. That's been my issue with McCarthy, just play calling. I think he ought to let somebody else do it, and because the players play for him, they're going to play for him.
Yeah,
Green Bay did it; they played for him, and if you can get your players to play for you, and you got good players and good coaches, you got to have good coaches below Mike. That's all. I mean, that's anything. When I was the sheriff of our county, I wanted guys smarter than me below me, because they're the guys that are going to get things done.
Whoa! You're the sheriff, or you?
I was, yeah.
Okay.
I'm retired.
All right.
And you got to have smart people below you.
Yeah.
That can that are going to go out and do their job for you and what's best for the team. And that's what you got to have too. And that's all I got. That's what I think they need to do. And I'm okay with McCarthy. Just maybe get an offensive coordinator and some play calling besides Mike, because sometimes I think his play calling is not the greatest at times. There's times I think they should run the ball. When you need a yard, get your yard.
Yeah, I agree, but that comes down to that offensive line that they just don't trust.
Exactly.
They don't trust
right.
it, and that's been evident.
That's been the problem too. Yes, that's been the problem too. You got to have an offensive line to get those yards and want to get those yards, and they got better, but they just need some help.
Yeah. All right.
Well, but hey, this is awesome. I'm glad I found the show. I just kind of retired and was just sitting on X one day and seen your show and started listening to it about 6 or 7 weeks ago, and I've watched it every morning.
Awesome. Well, we're glad to have you, Sheriff Lonnie. I'm going to call you that from now on. I like it.
That'll work.
All right.
That'll work. I appreciate you guys, and we hope for 2025 now, because 24 is over.
Yeah.
It's in the book. Nothing
all you can do
about it.
All right. Thank you, Lonnie. Thanks for the call.
Oh, you bet. Thank you.
Sheriff Lonnie. I have a feeling he was one of those good sheriffs, where you're like, now you can get after it if you have to, because you could tell right off the bat he had some energy. You have to get serious, but I bet it's one of those that, hey, let's do this the right way. You know what I mean? You're going to be under arrest. But hey, if you keep your mouth shut, it'll work out for you. That kind of guy, I think. All right, Sheriff Lonnie in Kansas, love it. Call back, please. Call back at some point. All right, lines are open right now. Is that right here? 888-855-2297. I thought we had Chris.
You do have a guy.
Oh, I'm not seeing it on my list.
Yeah, Lester.
Oh, Lester. See. That's your fault, Chris. You talk too much. I'm just kidding. Lester, what's up, man? Offensive, defensive line at the same time.
Hey, Nick. Good morning, man. I just want to make a comment on what you guys were talking about yesterday. As far as playmakers, getting some playmakers. My two favorite Cowboys were Roger Staubach and Michael Irvin. Michael Irvin, they both were playmakers. So I think if we were to draft, like the sheriff was saying, smart players, but smart players that are playmakers, I mean, that'll just make your team that much better.
Yeah.
And as far as what Irene was saying, who would you like to see in the Super Bowl? Of course, the Cowboys, but they're not there. So I'm going to say the Chargers and Minnesota. I live here, so Minnesota, whatever.
You want to see? Now, do you root against them, or are you kind of like, hey, that's cool? Then you kind of somewhat root for them just because you probably know a lot of Vikings fans.
Yeah, I mean, when I meet Viking fans, because I always have my cowboy gear on, they ask me if I'm from Texas. I say, no, I grew up in Chicago. But anyway, I'd let them know that I don't have anything against you guys as long as you're not playing against the Cowboys. But I'm a true Cowboy fan, and that's it.
Yeah.
I don't really root or follow anyone else. But like you said, I live here, so I know a little bit, So I say, okay, that's fine. I hope you guys win, as long as you're not playing the Cowboys.
I got it. All right. You got any other points?
Yeah, well, until we get an offensive and a defensive line at the same time,
yep.
This is what we have, Cowboy fans.
All right.
Go Cowboys.
There we go. I don't know what I think about Ezekiel Elliott. The Chargers, I don't see them going to the Super Bowl, so I don't really worry about that. But and I wouldn't want that to happen. They're on that list with the Eagles to me, but that would be weird for Zeke to have the season that he's had. Didn't exactly do everything the right way. Got left behind for a game. There's a lot of times, where you're just wondering, what are we doing here? I mean, it was the definition of a progress stopper. And, it wasn't that great when he had the ball and all that. Then to be cut, to ask for a release, to get cut, and then sign up with another team, I don't think the Chargers will be going to the Super Bowl. But if it was at a team that had a legitimate shot, I mean, I don't know what Cowboy fans would think about that. Happy for him that he got a shot, because that's the way they were for DeMarcus Ware and all that. But DeMarcus wasn't here getting suspended and getting fined for conduct detrimental to the team type stuff, and then get cut in the middle of the season or at the end of the season and then go sign another team. Either way, I don't think he'll have. I don't even know if he'll play in the game. He's on the practice squad, I guess, with the Chargers. We'll see. As for who you want to see, I mean, again, I don't ever have a problem with the Chiefs. I think Patrick Mahomes is amazing. I love watching him play, and but as far as the NFC goes, it doesn't matter. We'll see what the Lions can do. I mean, I don't dislike Dan Campbell, but I'll say this: that coaching style can get you beat. If you're that aggressive all the time, it can backfire on you. So we'll see how it is. But they're fun to watch. I mean, they're tough and they're gritty. Fast. I mean, they're all the things that you want. They remind me a lot of those '90s Cowboys teams early on. Just because they were physical, they ran the ball, they had dynamic receivers, they were super fast, and the way Jimmy coached was like, hey, I believe in my team, I'm going to go for it. And so that's kind of the way Dan Campbell is. All right, let's go to Gary in New Mexico.
Hey, Nick, Happy New Year. How's it going?
Good. How are you?
I'm good, man. Got a couple of quick trivia questions for you.
All right.
Number one, how many Super Bowls have I won in the last 28 years?
Have you won? I don't know.
The same number as Jerry Jones.
I don't know how good you are in Madden. I don't know.
Yeah, I've won the same number as Jerry. None. Okay, now, real fun trivia question, though. It's playoff time, so we can do some Cowboys playoff trivia, right?
That's all we got.
Okay, so the Cowboys have had two players that have each intercepted 3 passes in a playoff game, and that's tied for second best in NFL history. Can you name those 2 players?
3 picks in a game.
Yes, sir. Playoff game.
In a playoff game.
Yep.
Charlie Waters?
Yes, that's one.
Man. Oh, man. Can you give me a hint? Is it before or after? Before or after?
The other one went on to a long career as an assistant coach in the NFL.
Before or after Charlie Waters?
Same time and then after.
Okay.
Had a nickname for the secondary back during the early to mid 80s.
Oh! I know this. And I know the game. It's Dennis Thurman. And it was against the Packers in the 1982 divisional game, and one of them was for a touchdown. I know this.
That's right, man.
Dennis Thurman, Charlie Waters, Thurman Thieves.
Thurman's Thieves. Dennis Thurman, that dude, he got burned a lot, but boy, he could lay the wood.
Yeah,
he could make plays.
Yeah,
I love Dennis. I would have loved to have seen Dennis Thurman at some point come back and coach with the Cowboys, but it never worked out.
Yeah, me too.
One of my favorite players.
Yep.
Well, I don't really know what to talk about with this year's team because we don't know until we know who the coach is.
That's true.
And I'm okay. I'm getting out. I don't know what they know. I'm just going to have to trust them, even though they've given me no reason to trust them. But whoever the coach is, whether it's McCarthy or somebody else, it's about the players, really. You got to give them the tools. Tom Landry did not become a bad coach at the end of his career. He had Steve Pellure as his quarterback. Jimmy Johnson didn't become a bad coach when he went to Miami. He just didn't have Michael, Emmett, and Troy in their prime. So you got and just let me say this, and I'll get off the phone. It's easy to criticize play calling, but we don't know what the play calls are. We just don't. That's so wide open because, the quarterback can change the play. The quarterback may not execute the play the way the play is designed. So I'm real leery about just constantly criticizing play calling because we don't know nearly as much as we think we do. But I'm optimistic that we'll get some better talent and get this thing turned around. But thank you for taking my call.
Yeah, thank you, Gary. And you know what? You're right about that for when it comes to play calling. About we don't know exactly what has happened there in certain situations. Some quarterbacks do check out of plays, check out of runs, what they see and all that. That's what comes down to how they process things, how they study. When they see a certain look, what are they supposed to check it to? Things like that. I look at stuff like into the game, like I mentioned earlier, into the game when it's a minute and 32 seconds to go, and it's 3rd and 4, and you've got a 4-point lead around midfield. Do you run this ball and say, probably not going to get it, but we'll see if we can run it, and we'll get it down to 40 seconds or so and then punt? Or are you going to throw it? And that's not that, that's more game management than it is play calling a little bit. But and those are things you don't check out of. And sometimes you can say, I don't know if Trey Lance checked out of plays down there by the goal line, but you can certainly say, we're running the football down here. We're going to run it, and or we're going to do things that could get him sort of on the move. I think you've seen enough, though, to kind of know what type of play caller that he is, and it's not as dynamic. I think Brandon Cooks has not been utilized the right way, and I know I'm not the only one that thinks that way. He's not a guy that could go. He's not a jump ball guy. Okay, he's not going to the NBA. He's not. That's not his game. It's not vertical in that regard. It's vertical down the field. It's across the field. He's a goal line type route runner, but not necessarily a jump ball. But we have seen plays around the goal line where he can move in and out and kind of use the width of the field a little bit. Again, they had 3 quarterbacks this year, and he missed a lot of time as well. So those are things. Last year you kind of saw that rapport with him and Dak, and then this year it didn't happen. Again, you're right about play calling, but I do think we've seen enough to know that there's too many times where it's not the way I would call a game. But then again, I've never called one, so what do I know? All right, let's go to Robbie, Cocoa Beach, Florida. I knew he would get in. Robbie, what's up?
You knew I would get in, but Bean tried to cut me off. He hung up the phone on me.
Ah,
I ain't been giving him enough love, I guess.
Hung up on Robbie? It's all right.
I know, right?
That's
I might even get defensive.
It happens. Get over it.
Wow. Hey, up there in Cocoa Beach, Florida, they got bridges? Yeah, get over it. All right, Robbie, I was kidding. What's going on, man?
Hey, I wanted to answer Irene's question. I think I'd like to see the Lions win the Super Bowl only because I kind of like Dan Campbell, and he was with us for 3 years. I mean, it was still funny about last year.
Yeah, I mean, like
the playoff loss to the Cowboys was great, but that's a little bit of pitch and pie. And the team I want to see always lose is the Eagles because we all hate the Eagles.
I think if the Packers went into Philly, ran the football right down their throat, won by like 30 points, I think, number one, it would be fine to see Philly lose. Number two, it would make them feel a little bit better after what Green Bay did as the 7 seed, going to the 2. So, yeah,
it would be a little bit of a humble pie.
A little bit, but
and I don't. You know what I think though? I don't think they could handle it as well as we did. I mean, I know we didn't have the year we wanted, and I'm Mr. Positive, but to have that horrible outcome at the last game, the playoff game, and then come back and McCarthy still have the locker room on his side throughout the whole season, ups and downs, and
I don't know
all the injuries. I think McCarthy did great to keep the locker room.
I don't know, Robbie. I mean, I don't know how they handled it. I mean, they lost that game. It was the first loss at home in like 16 games, and then they didn't.
I agree.
And then they didn't win at home for like 9 months, and every one of them.
How many people did we have hurt, Nick? I'm not being just saying that's the only reason, but we had so many people hurt the whole season. I'm impressed that McCarthy kept our team
that's fine.
At least competitive.
You just said how they handled that loss, and I don't know if they handled it well because I know that it affected them, because a lot of the games that they were losing, the Saints, the Lions, they were the
Saints game.
The Ravens, all of those games were blowouts in the first half. Now the Ravens, they figured out how to come back and they got a rare onside kick to make it closer. All those games were blowouts. So I don't know if they did handle it so well after that loss. I think it proved that, man, here at this stadium, we can get our ass kicked, and they did.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So, but
I'm
as
still
the season went
disagreeing on the point of that McCarthy had that team wanting to play for.
Yes, yeah, they didn't quit. They certainly
they
did
never
not quit,
and that is a beautiful thing. Because look at Philly last year, or the year before, they were doing so good, and then all of a sudden, one game loss, and it exploded. Receivers were yelling at quarterbacks. Quarterbacks were walking away from receivers, and they just imploded.
Yeah. All right.
And then we came in and got the number 2 spot. I think that's coaching, man. That's why when people dog McCarthy, I think consistency.
Okay.
And that's all I got today, Nick. Have a great day, my friend.
You too.
We'll talk to you in a couple.
All right, Robbie. Thanks for the call. All right, let's go to Washington. To Steve is in Washington.
Hey.
What's up, man?
Happy New Year.
How are you?
Good.
Hey,
I'm the one that told you last year that we got 5 points to the star and 5 Super Bowls, and we can't win another one until we add another point to that star because we're full. So I know Jerry Jones is always listening to this show, so I got some advice for him.
Okay.
I know he likes to keep the Cowboys in the headlines, and I figure the best free agent move he could make next year to keep the Cowboys in the headlines would be to sign in free agency Stephon Diggs. Reunite the 2 brothers together on the same team, I think would be fun. I think that would solve our receiver room. Also, I think the first 3 picks in the draft should be running back, a big left tackle, move Guyton over to the right side, and then a defensive tackle in whatever order in the first 3 rounds.
Yeah.
I think that McCarthy should stay, but it may be a new, young, innovative offensive coordinator to call the plays and go in. And I'm also thinking, I haven't heard much about Fossil. I'm thinking that maybe he didn't have the best year, or the team didn't have the best year in special teams, excluding field goal team. But I think it was kind of mistimed.
I don't know about that one. I mean, you had a kick returner, the only kick returner, I mean, in the league that had a punt and a kickoff for a touchdown. Had another kickoff return, not that he was supposed to score, but he did, Wanye Thomas. And you have a punter and a deep snapper that might end up at the Pro Bowl as well. So you have 4 specialists, and 2 of them are in the Pro Bowl, and 2 of them could make it. I mean, we hear the fake punts or the fake, we're bad, but I don't know if the special teams was really that bad. I don't remember a lot of like big returns against them. So I don't know. I mean, I think that he had a pretty good year for a special teams coach. I think you got to reel him in a little bit on these fakes. Don't give him as much leeway, I think, as he has. But you got to remember when you have a lot of injuries, that means it trickles down, and your special teams. Now they did lose a game on special teams. They did. Over Warrior, fielded the ball. He shouldn't have. They lost the game. So that you could say they lost it, but I bet you they won 4 or 5 of their wins they won because of special teams.
Right.
So, anyways, all right.
What do you think about Nagy coming in Kansas City? Think that's a chance?
Not. I mean, again. It all starts. It's got to start at the top, and then if that happens, then we'll see. How with these other coaches come in. But I don't like to get too far underneath when you haven't figured out the top part yet. So.
Right. How about what do you think about the Diggs, Stephon Diggs? I think that could be affordable because he's coming off a knee injury.
Just those 2 guys rehabbing together. I mean, I don't see that happening. I think there's a better chance you have 0 Diggs on the team than you have 2 Diggs on the team. I'll just leave it at that. So, all right, Steve.
Thank you.
Appreciate the call. Okay, let's go. Sorry. Let's go. Let's take a break. Let's take one more break here. I know we do have a caller on the line, but we'll come back, and we'll come back for another 10 minutes or so after break.
Cowboys fans, when it comes to navigating the ever-changing world of tax, your business needs a partner it can trust to tackle even your biggest tax challenges. Ryan is the largest firm in the world dedicated exclusively to business taxes. Our team of tax professionals has local expertise in all areas of tax and can help you uncover savings opportunities you didn't know you had. Learn more about how Ryan can improve your overall corporate tax performance by visiting Ryan.com. Ryan, the official tax partner of the Dallas Cowboys.
There is no I in Dallas. There is no I in Hart either. No I in Blue Star or in Lone Star for that matter. And there's no I in how about them Cowboys? Smirnoff knows there's no I in football. Football is a we thing, an experience that is best enjoyed together. With good drinks and good folks, home or away, we rally together. We cry together. And we always rally cry together because there's definitely no I in Cowboys fans. Smirnoff, we do game days. Please drink responsibly.
To Cowboys Storyline.
All right, welcome back to the last segment here of Cowboys Storyline. Get to go a little bit longer now on these Wednesdays. We'll go for another, go 15 minutes or so. Got to give Chris enough time to get ready. They have Cowboys break at 11. So we'll get a couple more callers. We'll start us off here this segment with Zach in Atlanta.
Hey, what's up, Nick? It's pretty cold over there, huh?
It is. It is.
How's your calf doing? I know sometimes, when the cold weather changes, the injuries can pop up again.
Yep. It when I start running, it hurts. So I don't. So I have like a 3-day 40 time or something like that. So yeah.
Man, God bless you. We're all getting through it. We're all getting through it. Well, hey, man, how many calls did we get in yesterday?
15 calls. And I'll say this.
Yeah.
I feel bad sometimes for Chris's kids because I bet you when he gets on them, I mean, he keeps them in line because he got on the callers yesterday before they said, keep it quick. And next thing you know.
There was reprimand.
Breaks.
Pre-reprimand,
We took 3 breaks. We went less than an hour, and we had 15 calls. Today we're going an hour and a half. And we're sitting at 12. That's because we're letting them talk. And Rob hadn't even called. Rob from Vegas
hasn't called. Yeah, I know. He gets the red carpet.
Right.
Zach, he got a call in yesterday too. So yeah,
it was good.
Y'all are running a tight ship. Shout out to Beam. He's the man.
Yep.
Hey, just quick note. We're in the off season, looking to what's next. I've said this before, but I really think this draft, the decisions we make this off season. It just has to work. I think about Tony Romo's career and Dak, and they're always going to be linked because of the proximity and all that. But just kind of front office decision making and team building, I feel like they're kind of following the same trajectory. We finally got Romo a line and a running game in 2014, and he was too old at that time. He was 34, and he was injured the next 2 seasons to really enjoy, full offense at his disposal. And, Dak is 31 now. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, all right, he's had some injuries, all that. And, the next part of his career has to be, to support him the best we can. It's got to have this line workout. Shout out to Lester. I feel like this is becoming a Lester train. Just following his call for a good line and then a good running game, because that's what's going to make the ship float.
Yeah.
And so that's all I got, man. I just really want the best for Dak and this team, and I think it comes with a good line and a good running game for him.
I agree, and thanks for the call, Zach. And no offense. Lester knows this. He said. You guys are all kind of saying this about offense, defensive line, but this is no secret. Okay, this is no secret sauce to playing football. Any coach in any level, whether you coach on Sundays, Saturdays, Friday nights, or you're in the Wednesday, Thursday, 7th grade A JV team, you're telling your team, hey, if we run the ball and we stop the run, we're gonna win. Well, how do you run the ball and stop the run? That means you have a good offensive line and you have a good defensive line. And if it happens in the same game, then it happens at the same time. So that's how you win games. You run the ball. It's physical. Being big, strong, physical. There's no secret to that. That's how. And you play complementary football. You can run the ball. You protect the lead. Protect the clock. Get the lead. Next thing you know, you protect the lead by stopping. You stop the run. Now you force them to pass. And you pin your ears back. You'll get the sacks. You get the turnover. You run the ball. It's the cycle. So he's not wrong. But I'm saying this is nothing new for football. I mean, this is how you win games. It's definitely how you win games in the playoffs. Because in the playoffs is where you're not going to see a lot of throwing the ball around and all that. Even in those indoor games, things get tight, and you've got to be able to run it. You've got to be able to stop it. All right, let's go to Joe in El Paso.
Hey, Nick.
How are you?
Good.
First time?
Hey, Nick. First time caller. Yes, sir.
Yeah, let's get that out of the way. All right, Joe. Favorite player of all time?
Troy Aikman, definitely. Him, Troy Aikman, Michael Irvin. I remember when the Cowboys didn't make the playoffs. One time they were playing the last game of the season. I was watching it on TV. There were. I think that year there was only 16 games in the regular season. They might have gone 9-7, and the last game was against Philadelphia, and they missed the playoffs. And I saw Michael Irvin crying on the sideline because they didn't make the playoffs. And I guess that's what I miss about the old Cowboys and the new Cowboys.
Yeah.
I mean, they took pride in losing. They took pride in winning. When they lost, they hurt. I like Michael Parsons. Can't stand the podcast. You know what I mean? One of my favorite players, but I mean, he should focus more on watching film. You know what I mean? Weight room than doing podcasts. That's my personal opinion. But the main reason that I'm calling is I'm hearing a lot of. I want to get your thoughts on whether they're going to bring Mike McCarthy back. The way I feel about.
Go ahead. No, I'll let you finish. Go ahead.
The way I feel about Mike McCarthy is the way I felt about Jason Garrett. If you look up Jason Garrett's stats, he won 3 divisional titles. He has the second most wins as a coach in team history.
Mm-hmm.
But he never made a substantial run in the playoffs.
Yeah.
After the 4-year contract was up, the only reason why they brought him back was because he drafted Zeke and Dak, and they made that playoff run.
Yeah.
Other than that, they wouldn't have extended it, in my opinion. And I feel the same for McCarthy. It's going to be the same reoccurring story that you're going to bring him back for 2-3 years, and he's going to get regular season games, but he's not going to do anything substantial in the playoffs. What are your thoughts?
I'm one of those that I don't think that there's necessarily a trend for that with the playoffs. I mean, I think that they weren't good enough. I mean, there's going to be teams. There's 14 teams that make the playoffs. I mean, 12 of them aren't good enough to make it to the Super Bowl. They are good enough talent-wise to be that team, but when it's over, they won't be good enough. So the Bills, the Ravens, the Chiefs, there's 3 good teams in the AFC. One of them's not making it to the championship game. That's how good my math is. I can tell you that. So my point is that, I think that what you want is you want to have a team good enough to be in that conversation, because you got to have it. You got to be playing it the right way. You got to have some luck. You got to have the ball bounce your way in the playoffs. You got to have it working for you in the playoffs. But you got to get there. You got to get there. And you got to be a good enough team to be there. And I think Mike McCarthy has proven over the years that, you give them good players, the injury situation's got to be, manageable. And this year just wasn't this year. But I think that, you do that for the most part. He can figure out a way to have a team that competes and can get in there. So I think that Jerry knows that, and I think that they'll probably go that route. But, I think Mike has to agree to it. And, Mike doesn't have to, he can look at other offers if after next week if he wants to do that. But, I think Jerry's trying to make sure that he he keeps them at the price that he wants to keep them at. That's what I believe. All right, let's go to Rob in Vegas. Hey, Rob.
Hey, Nick.
What's up?
Nick, I this may be the most frustrating show. I'm sitting in my office screaming at the computer. It's happening. It's happening, Nick.
What?
Jerry's doing it. He's brainwashing these fans by waiting. You ever have a girlfriend, Nick, that you wanted to break up with? You just knew you had to break up with her. She was just, and then your friends would say, "But dude, she's hot." And then you just say, "Yeah, she is hot." That's exactly what's happening with Mike McCarthy. By waiting, other coaches are going to start interviewing. You're hearing people on ESPN or wherever, "Oh, Mike McCarthy's a good coach." I'm listening to fans. They're giving this guy credit for players showing up to their jobs, making millions of dollars, and playing. I hear Robbie and Coco be, "No, Robbie, I love you, but no, you don't get credit. That's like me getting credit for my guy showing up to work." No. Second of all, I'm hearing fans say, "Yeah, we could keep him if we take away everything he was brought here for. Let's take away the play calling because he's not good at it. Let's forget about that. He had 5 years to get us past the second round of the playoffs." Never happened. You said to Dylan that Jerry really never said that. Yes, he did. He said that by not re-signing him to an extension. We all knew what that meant. It's just happening. This happens every year when Jerry does this. By waiting, everybody starts to fall back in line, hopium, like my friend Travis likes to say. And now they're looking at Mike McCarthy like he's Bill Belichick. And I'm just like, don't forget what you saw. Don't forget what you saw this year, last year, when he got blown out. This isn't just a couple games. This is 5 years. And Jason Garrett, the caller said he's like, Jason Garrett was better. Jason Garrett has 2 playoff wins. Mike McCarthy has 1 with us. Jason Garrett had a number 1 seed. Mike McCarthy's never had that. So it's so frustrating because I see it.
Rob,
and Jerry's
let me ask you.
Laughing.
Hey, Rob, let me ask you a question. If and this is kind of, I didn't answer Joe from El Paso's stuff about Garrett and McCarthy, but I'll ask you, if you think McCarthy has 4 more years, do you think he would have more playoff wins?
No, I think he'd get maybe 1 more.
1 more? Then
yeah.
If that's a question that I think Jerry needs to, obviously figure out as well, because with Jason Garrett, he could have had his own show like Michael Myers or Freddy Krueger, because you thought he was dead, it's over, he's done, and the next thing you know, 12-4. And you're like, well, then he went 4-12, okay, that's bad, or 8-8, that's bad. 13-3. Every time you thought he was done, he just popped up.
I know, but Nick, we talked about this. That's meaningless.
No.
Your goal is not to get to the playoffs. Your goal is to win a Super Bowl. Garrett and McCarthy are the same guy. They're good coaches. They will not take it. You need somebody to pick up the slack that Jerry will not provide the players. So if he's not going to give me top-notch free agents, I need a coach to make up the difference. McCarthy's not that guy. So
okay.
Jerry now is going to wait. He's going to drag this out. Now, why is he going to do this? Because Vrabel's going to go to Patriots. You're going to lose him. Ben Johnson may. So Jerry's going to be like, well, see, I did my due diligence, and this is what I'm left with, and I'm going to pay Magic Mike $4.5 million for another 3 years because he didn't want to pay $10 to $15 million, and that's how this scenario is going to happen.
There you go.
And it's going to go down, and they'll maybe take away his play calling and what they're going to do, which is ridiculous. So now you just turn this guy into nothing. He just stands on the sideline. So, but that's what I see happening, unfortunately, because if they really were going to move on, they would have did what the Raiders did yesterday. Bye-bye, Antonio. I'm sorry we gave you 1 year, but you know what? You're not the guy. Gone. That's what owners who are looking to, they see. This is where, and we talk about coaches that, well, maybe the next coach. I'm a Golden Knights fan. They had a coach first year take them to the Stanley Cup. Second year, not playoffs. But they said, this ain't the guy. They got rid of him. They bring in another guy who's now the Dallas Stars coach. He does very good, but he can't get him to the Stanley Cup. They fire him. They bring in another guy, and he wins the Stanley Cup because they knew that this coach is good, but I don't think he's the guy. And that's what Jerry is unwilling to do.
All right, Rob. Appreciate the call. I don't know what's going on there. Obviously, we're not talking about hockey, but there's a theory there too about these guys are building to get there, and then someone else goes in. And what if they just fired the Bills head coach, whatever his name is? I don't even know his name, McDermott or something. What if they just fired him and another guy comes in and they win a Super Bowl? Is he the guy that did it, or? I mean, what about the guy that built it? I mean, Wade Phillips had some success, but Bill Parcells was building all that. So there's part of that too that's not just about getting there. It's not just you're better in the playoffs. I mean, you got to have some luck there. Let's go real quick. Chris in San Angelo is our last caller. Chris.
Yes, sir, Mr. Nick. Good to talk to you.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm going off. I have just a couple things real quick. I was going off of what Irene's thing, and believe it or not, I'm kind of rooting for the Bills. And my little case is, whenever people say, "Oh, this team deserves it," I usually roll my eyes. But I'm different on players, and that quarterback, I mean, he just carries that team. He's put up like 5 touchdowns in games running and throwing, and they still lost. So it's kind of like, what else can I do? But this isn't Bill's storyline. So in that same vein, who tops the list of the Cowboys players that you would love to have seen win a Super Bowl? And I'll leave you with Zach Martin, and Dez Bryant.
Yeah, for me, it's Jason Witten and Romo. If Tony Romo had ever won a Super Bowl, people would view him the same way they view Aaron Rodgers and Drew Brees. I believe that wholeheartedly. He'd be in the Hall of Fame. There's no doubt about it. And I think that there'd be people that think he may be one of the best of all time. Now, you got to remember, that would have been he would have won the divisional game, won the NFC Championship, won all that kind of stuff, because he would have done Romo-type things in those games with the world watching, and everyone would have lost their mind. He wasn't good enough, so therefore, you could say ifs and buts about all of that. But if Tony Romo's teams, if he had ever gone to a Super Bowl and won it, I think people would view him as a Hall of Fame quarterback and one of the greatest to ever play. His story, all of that, doing it for the Cowboys. But he didn't get there. But yeah, I would love to have seen. Was he good enough? I think so. Him and Witten both, I would love to have seen them. All those great players that don't get it, you can say that. But I would say those two, and then Zach Martin, Tyron Smith, and 2 great linemen. Any guy that's a Ring of Honor / Hall of Fame type guy that didn't make it to the Super Bowl, yeah, I mean, you feel for them. All right, guys, it's been a great show. 15 calls, a lot of fun. We'll do it again next Wednesday. Stay warm, stay safe. For Chris Beam, I'm Nick Eatman. We'll see you next time on Storyline.
This has been a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about this, Cowboys? Yeah!